Moving on in the Torah, we take a look at Ois Beis, where Rebbe Nachman speaks about the importance for our Malchus, our sphere of influence, to remain free. The tzaddik says, a person shouldn't use their capacity for influence, their sphere of influence, the kalim that we spoke about in a previous video, for their own use, for their own egotistical and self-oriented ambition. Because then, says the Rebbe, it's like an eved. It's like an eved. It's trapped in a state that it ought not be in. It doesn't want to be, and it's not what it's intended to be for. So the Rebbe says it's important, Rakshatiyah Bechinas HaMalchus, it's got to be Bechinas Ben Chayrin. The Malchus has to be free. It has to be in an aspect of Geula as opposed to Gullus. It has to be in its appropriate place, being used for what it was intended to be used for. Which really, if you think about it, is representative of all of life, like why we're alive, Bechlal. Why do we have an experience of selfhood? Why is it that our lives experience Bepnimius as an neshama, consciousness, machshava, dibur, ma'isa, neshama, ruach, and nefesh? Why is it that we are put into a realm where we are compelled by the very nature of the human condition to interact with a plethora of different people, places, things, circumstances, experiences, successes, failures, challenges, the whole range of the human experience and the vicissitudes of day-to-day life from the moment that we're born until the moment that we leave the world after 120. What is all of that Malchus for? And the Rebbe says, if we use it for our own selves, to fortify our sense of independence from something bigger, to fortify the illusion of separateness, to think that we are our own beings that can sort of control our own destiny for our own selfish, egotistical purposes, the Rebbe says our whole life our whole lives are saturated with the energy of slavery, with the energy of being off, of having missed the mark. Our whole experience of life is like it's exiled. It's a bechina of Mitzrayim, like the headquarters for narrowness, constriction. We're choking life. Whatever we think that we're going to get out of a life that's lived from that consciousness is limited beyond imagination in contradistinction or in relation to what life could look like when it's seen as being a potential vessel for the spirit of the infinite. And what does it mean to be a spirit of the infinite? So the Rebbe says, Mar Drar, Mordechai, who eventually achieved a degree of Malchus, eventually Mordechai is Mishtal Melech HaChashverosh. And obviously, Mordechai saw every aspect of his literal Malchus, of his literal ascent to a degree of this worldly greatness as another realm, another way that he could channel the spirit of the divine. Of course, Mordechai in the Megillah is held in parallel to Haman, that Haman was mamish the exact opposite. In fact, the Rebbe, when he's speaking in Torah Vav about the concept of also a very similar thing of using kavod for one's own self, where the Rebbe over there actually uses this terminology of where it becomes the kavod of kfayid atzmi, and it's the aspect of chakar davar. The Rebbe says, kfayid melachim chakar davar. It's kfayid melachim. It's kfayid atzmai. So the Rebbe uses over there terminology that seems to refer to Haman. Mihu ze ve'ezahu. They speak about a person who's taking the kavod, which is also al pi Kabbalah, the synonym for Malchus, Baruch Shem, Kivayid, Malchusai, La'olam Vayid. Kavod and Malchus are very, very deeply connected, correlated concepts. So about such a person that's using Malchus for his own egotistical wants and needs, so about such a person, they ask Mihu ze ve'ezahu, which of course is a reference to what was said about Haman. Because this is exactly what Haman wanted. Vayamar Haman belibai, right? Who can the king want to honor more than me? And daika, because this is the way that he thought, as Rebbe Nachman details over there, the more a person runs after kavod, the more kavod is running away from that person. It's clear to everybody this person is not in it for the real deal, for the real reason, to be a channel for something so much bigger than that particular person's ambitions alone. But Mordechai, the protagonist, Mordechai, the parallel figure in the Megillah, is an aspect of Marjurar. Whatever degree of Malchus that Mordechai gets, it's just an aspect of being able to gather all the Yidden together in tefillah, in consciousness. Divrei Shalom ve'emes, to be able to bring a spirit of peace and a consciousness of truth, to remember what life is really about to the people. That's the bechina of Mordechai. Marjurar. When a person is living in such a way, so then they look at their whole life, their whole Malchus, which includes every single waking moment and the circumstances held therein, and it's seen as an opportunity for V'hoisel Hashem HaMelucha. And in the place of Ein Adam Meis V'chatzi Tavasa B'yadeh, that if a person's living for their own self, so then not even Chatzi Tavasa, they're living life constantly in a state of lack, of fragmentation. Instead of that, it's a bechin of Toiv Hashem L'kol. Everything, the spirit of everythingness, so to speak, saturates everything that there is. That's life. That's life. That's mamish life. That's freedom. That's marjurar. Life is not choked. Life is not kasha, where a person can't breathe and their life can't breathe, and there's no dynamic aspect of Shabbos, Yaakov Avinu, Nachla B'li Mitzarim. Everything is mamish Mitzrayim. It's the hepech of Eretz Yisrael, which is the Eretz Toiva U'Rechavav. There's no wideness, there's no breadth, there's no depth. Everything's very narrow. Hashem should bless us. We should be zeicha to marjurar, to real freedom. Be'ezus Hashem.